Afternoon, folks. Three men in a block here with First Minister's questions. A critique. Stuart Lockhead here, Phil Attridge and myself, Noy Stewart. Just for a change, I'm leading. Stuart, your opinions?
Well, I'd like to make an opinion about Mr. Attridge's braces. I think he's been watching that Brian Taylor fellow on the BBC. Or is it the other way around? Mr. Taylor's quite your fashion.
It's his sympathy.
sense.
He's got to put up with these morons every.
It's actually simply an indication of belly size.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps his trousers up.
Well, this is it. Braces, good
and
braces.
And by the way, have you got room to criticise?
No, plenty here.
And hidden.
Right, what do we see today? Certainly a big change again. Last week we found it refreshingly civilised, should we say. This week, kind of back to much the same, although I don't recall anybody being called a liar. Overview, Joanne, she's certainly maintaining her confidence level. She doesn't do herself any favours by by having too long and complicated a question. Because you can't really turn around and say, well, you didn't answer the question if you've asked a really stupid and long, complicated question, can you? So, on that basis, she did okay. Alex he's a normal quality politician, but he did get angry a couple of times. I noted that today. You could see him getting angry and just getting a bit worked up. And Ruthie, well, I think she really got put down this time. We're talking about the Euro and the Tories wanting to get Britain out, UK out of the EU, and then trying to complain about Scotland not getting in. It's twisted, confusing logic. Willie, oh dear, he really got shot down in flames. I think it was because Sam came out with the quote something about Willie was all in favour of the Euro. The Euro, and the apparently Scottish Liberals, led by him, would be the first to get into the Euro. Something like that, but I'm sure the real quote would be very different. I think that's how I saw it today.
Well, yeah, it seemed to be business as usual, fudmongering, the whole bit. Here we go again about Europe. And what gets me is this, Barroso. Barroso. This, like he's a god, like he can say no wrong, and we all know that he's not talking about Scotland anyway, he's talking about Spain, he's using it. But it's also, to my mind, when you listen to Salmond, and you listen to Salmond, and they have talks, and they're actually confident in what they believe in. Whereas it's the mark of a second-rate politician to continually rely on officials, on civil servants, because there's not a Scooby, obviously, in their head. And you can see that with Joanne today. She wasn't comfortable, because I thought her delivery was not too bad, but you could see when she was... when she wasn't reading from the script, when she was coming from there, and you could see she started to get uncomfortable. She's only comfortable when she's reading from a script.
But a lot of people don't realise that Barroso isn't the final arbiter.
Of course he isn't.
Barroso is a servant of the Union, of the EU rather, and possibly of the Union as well.
It's a whole other, you could sit and talk for hours here about whether we are, whether we aren't, and all the rest of it. And all the rest of it, and you could get a dozen laws and it'd give you a dozen different answers. And Ruth as well, Tory hypocrites, she just gets worse. They are just, I'm sorry, they just, to use a good Scottish expression, they really do give me the dry boke. Tories. And Willie was Willie, and he thought, I'm a big boy now, I'll start talking about Europe, and just made a complete fool of himself.
He did mess up today, didn't he?
I find it... Are they so lacking in imagination? Joanne banged on about, the Barroso thing. Right. The letter didn't exist, so he was quite entitled to ask for an apology. Until it was signed and sent, it didn't exist. Right? But no, not good enough for her. Then she went to Barroso, and is she so stupid that she doesn't realise she's got an agenda that involves the Catalonian situation? He wasn't talking about Scotland.
No, he never mentioned Scotland.
He knew he would get press in the UK by phrasing it the way he did. He specifically said specifically said he was not referring to any country in particular. So we'll totally ignore that and say he was talking about Scotland. The press were as bad on that. Then, when none of that worked, she goes back to the old one.
Well, back to the Bank of England she included as well, which was... And in both cases, she seemed to be banging on about... She was making assertions, that Alex was making assertions, but then when she got to speak again, she made assertions that couldn't be supported either.
But I mean,
where was this proof that the Bank of England has not been engaging with the Scottish Government about the possibility of a monetary...
And if you're talking to a government, why any... And at the end of the day, if you think about it, I mean their egos are like quite amazing. When you look at their face, it's like, why aren't we... I mean, it's almost like we're in charge, even though we only got 25% of the vote, or 5% of the vote, or literally hardly any of the vote. And it's almost like, they said, you're answerable to us, you're answerable to Scotland. Sorry, the SNP government got almost half. Yeah, yes. They got 45% of the vote. They have a majority. It doesn't mean that they don't answer, but it's... and also when they go off asking people, sometimes it's confidential. Confidence when you're talking
obviously
to
the Bank of England are not going to want discussions.
And they're not going to give verbatim what they had
before any referendum. I mean, I think that's what annoys me most. I would love for somebody to stand up and say, well, could you give us an indication of how well the talks are going? Because that's about as far as they'll be able to go. And, why aren't you engaging with? Well, the British government won't let us.
Well, I really do think that the opposition in Holyrood are really letting us all down. They don't actually ask the Scottish Government the real questions that matter. For example, what about, is it a really good idea to assume that we will want to be in the European Union, say, by the time the 2016 comes along?
That question will never be asked because everybody in Holyrood is in favour of being in Europe.
I don't think so.
Tories? I doubt it.
Do the Tories count?
No, true.
I would say that the majority of Scottish Tories are in favour.
There's quite a lot of SNP supporters would rather
you had McMurdo and all that.
But we're talking about
being EFTA with Norway.
Well, who sits in the Parliament is really what I'm referring to. But I suppose about Joanne, not really annoyed, and their party should be ashamed of themselves. Last week, I thought the light had dawned. I thought they'd realised that acting like school kids was not a good idea.
Banging their desks again.
Not as bad as it has been, but they've started again. And the Speaker really needs to jump on somebody's head hard.
Just to stop it.
Just get somebody out of the chamber. Because I do not want my Parliament, which is being looked at internationally,
more and more so by this
to look like
referendum.
There's bad behaviour in all the benches, by the way. I mean, the whole you do get from the SNP. You tend to get laughs and jeers. They don't tend to go in for this juvenile.
It's Labour that
desk banging. Yeah, it's that desk banging.
It's desk banging.
Really, it's a sort of thing. Well, I mind they started doing it. Maybe they were following there at the council when I was on it. They would start banging tables and all the rest of it. And I suppose, if you're a whole bunch of school kids together, they all start banging.
I'm very disappointed.
I do know our MSP doesn't bang his desk.
Well, thank God.
Because I asked him.
Because I'm not happy. But I wasn't impressed with Joanne. She wasn't helped by the content. Whoever's doing her speech for her to read out is they're just not being... They've got to get out of the box. They've got it wrong foot.
Yeah. And also you had...
But they've obviously decided to
Macintosh
stick with play the man, bugger the ball.
Well, they were trying to make it out as if he was dishonest. I mean, when you got Macintosh that came up with that thing, well, which position, it was Smarmy's found two... And he's obviously giving it out of context. Salmon just dismissed it, I didn't say that. And it's almost like...
But Macintosh did not look comfortable. Macintosh looked like he'd been put up to ask that, as far as I'm concerned. He's smarter than that.
He was a contender for leader, wasn't he?
I mean,
yeah,
he looked like he'd been put up.
I voted for it.
It looked like
Macintosh, actually.
It looked like you got the swap to ask the silly question in class. That's what it looked like to me. He didn't even look interested in the answer. So I think what they've done is right. Every question here is to make Salmon look like he's lying.
Well, yeah, well, that's what comes back to the agenda that's been on for quite
It's
a while.
all personal. And it's
Ruth Davidson, hiding to nothing. Don't ask questions on Europe, national health.
That's
In
it.
fact, don't ask any questions
Yes,
at all.
every time she opens her mouth, it's
Her
down in
question,
flames.
her question today was screaming. Her question today was pat on the back for Westminster Tories. You know, all the employment figures are down, although there's some strange thing going on in Scotland where employment's down, employment isn't up. There's some grey area.
Unemployment's down.
Unemployment's down, employment isn't up. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of
you
people
can have-
who have just come off the books for some reason.
Well, yes, well, you
They're
can.
just
And
migrated.
statistically, weirder than that, statistically apparently, that grey group, which always exists, is in Scotland, is the size of the grey group for the whole of the UK. So I don't know what's happened.
Well, I
Maybe
need to
just-
look into that one, because that sounds fairly
Yeah, but
shocking.
it's the employment. There's been a huge growth in what you call 0 hours contracts, which gets you
Yeah.
a huge growth in that.
What's a 0-hour contract?
Basically,
You've got a job, but you might not get any pay or work.
it's like when you stand. They used to do like they used to stand at the dock gates waiting for somebody to pick them. That kind of thing. It's gross casualisation. It's the ultimate casualisation.
What kind of businesses are in that, doing that?
Everybody's at it.
Everybody's at it. Yeah, you don't need it. We've got a Slack going. We don't need it. It's
Technically,
like,
we do it in my business.
yeah.
Well, you've got staff, but they're not guaranteed any hours every week.
And they're
Yeah.
not guaranteed any pay.
That's a 0 hours contract.
Yeah. So you try then
Yeah,
going.
that's a lot of people are in that
McDonald's is
situation.
in McDonald's?
Yes. So what happens
Is
when?
this a new kind of?
No,
it's been around for a
it's
long
been
time.
on the
surely.
go, but it's now on the books as a job.
Ah,
Yeah.
Which it didn't
Been a
used to
good
be.
one. Guaranteed.
And you'll not get any
Hey.
benefits, and if you do, it'll be behind, and it'll be a hustle, and you'll be,
Now, why
and
would you take a job like that?
because there isn't anything else.
Better getting some hours than no hours.
Because there isn't anything else to it. And also that whole idea that
If it doesn't,
Right.
here we
Not
go.
finished yet.
No, we haven't finished.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about something.
Willie Rennie. Willie looked like he was going to do the statesman thing again, and then he mentioned
Nice
the
try.
Euro.
Well, he was joining in again.
Nil pois for Willie this week. That
he
was
was absolutely destroyed.
Alex likes to get the boots into him, does he not? A couple of times when Willie didn't seem to be being that sort of aggressive about things, and Alex just turned around and gave him a kicking for the hell of it.
Who's that? The Tory MSP Johnston, Alex Johnson, was sat right in front of him, of Willie Rennie, and he was turned round to comment thereafter. Alex stuck the knife in Willie. It was almost as if they like that teach you.
Yeah, well, quite deserved. Yes, you know, the party. Of
Alex, I don't know. He's beginning to like the sound of his own voice too much. He needs to shorten and sharpen the answers. That's what he needs to do. Let Joanne do these great, huge, bumbling lectures where she says something like, at the end of it, huge statement, what do you think, Alex? Do you know what I mean? Whoa.
But he has to, because
What does he have to do? Do you even get?
no, he has to give you that long answer because they're always having to go, or maybe he feels obliged to, about his honesty and like. And he does tend to take forever to answer. I think, but he doesn't want to miss things.
The question about Boston should be answered by, no, you're wrong. That is not what I said. And he should have sat down.
Oh, the Chicago one.
Yeah.
That's all he should. He shouldn't have gone into what he
No,
said.
you're right.
He should have got up and said, no, it was totally consistent with my position, which is, I did not say what you have quoted. Boom. And then the ball's in there. And especially when you've not got a second question, you're left looking like a duck.
No, you do have a second question, but only two. The one that's written down, the person can see it's coming. It's only your second question where you get to put in your little bit
Well, you
of
don't,
the night.
you don't always get it. But the point really is that I think he's fallen into the trap of talking too long. I think I've said this before. It's often more effective. I mean, imagine what Joanne would look like if he got up and went, no, I'm sorry, your facts are wrong. Please refer to, and sat down.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Oh,
So it would look like a windbag, which technically she is. What came out of today? What was your...
Well, scoring. Yes, okay, let's start with Joanne, because she scored quite high last week. I don't think think bumbling. She was bumbling today. If you don't ask a coherent question, you can't expect a clear answer. And she didn't do that today. The topic, we knew what the topic was. It was whether the question of European membership. Now, it's arcane. It will always be arcane no matter how much it's discussed by us, the political Twitterati, whatever. Joe Public doesn't give a monkey's. He just wants to know he can fly to Spain, get a job in Germany, get a German car at a reasonable price. That's all he cares about. That's the average sun reader. He's not interested in all this. Absolute garbage. And why they go on about it, I don't know.
It's
Alex.
mongering, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what they're up to. Oh, we'll go to Ruth. Ruth, I thought she really did blow it there. Walked into the trap, complaining about Scotland not being, we won't get into Europe. Well, your party doesn't want any of us to be in Europe. So, I mean, what could she do? But she's no improvement at all. I will give you come back with the scores in a second. Willie, I'm just giving my reasoning for the scores. Willie, absolutely dreadful. Fell right into the ditch. He's sat there up to his waist in muddy water looking up at you. What the fuck did I do wrong? And Alex, well, he did get angry a couple of times, so it wasn't, and he did and wasn't, you're right. If he'd just given some short answers, I'm sure it would have been more effective. So, scoring-wise, Alex, I'll take him down to a 6, but bearing in mind he's on his own league, really. Joanne, I don't think she was very good at all today. The only thing she has is confidence, and I've explained before.
She is getting more confident.
She has more confidence because she gets a good press, and she gets good press from within her own party. You know, they think she does well. But I would only give her a 5. Ruth, oh dear, she's back down on 0. Absolutely nothing. Complete failure. And poor old Willie. Well, I wouldn't. He tried to be polite. I'll give him a 1.
Well, I'll have a look. I'll start at the bottom. Start with Ruth. Tory. Hypocrite. Nothing in there. 0. Willie, I'm sorry actually, if anything, I look more and more with disdain at Liberals because they're actually worse than Tories, because they're the ones that give the Tories power, so I'll give him -2. Just for being a complete waste of space. Joanne, the confidence is there as well, but you can see she's more confident. She's reading from a script. It's just the content today was just not there. I mean, I gave her an 8 last week, so there was, because it was, I'd give her a 6, because the confidence there, and, you know, the confidence and the performance was good. Salmond, a bit of nervous giggles, a bit of sort of, you know, yeah, I'll score him just above. I'll give Salmond a 7.
Well, I'll start with Willie. I'm going to give Willie a 1. In fact, I'm going to give him a 2 because he actually had a wee laugh at himself when he realised he was going to get shafted on the Euros.
It's because he's a joke.
So I'm going to give him a 2. Ruth Davidson, she's not even being nasty now. You know, she's kind of given up the ghost, I think. So, no, I'm with you guys. I'm giving her a 0. And I don't have a built-in bias against Tories. Some of my best friends are Tories.
Yeah, I know a lot of nice Tories, but I mean, but politically, yeah, but as people, but politically, they're poison.
Joe, Joanne. My scoring here is going to be coloured by the way the Labour Party acted. You know, they're obviously following this kind of aggressive thing that she's got going, which is why I think she's confident she's comfortable with that. Because the kind of elder statesmen don't do the best banging.
No.
You know, I was watching today, the kind of guys that you respect, who deliver a decent question, a decent message. So I'm only going to give her a 4 today. Alex, I'm going to give him a 6, but I really do think he has to think about how he's delivering his answers. He's beginning to look a bit like Joanne, and more time he gives Joanne, frankly, she's got that script, she's going to stick to that script, so she's going to have to start filling in between the lines if he gives her lots of time.
Very true.
And she'll trip herself up, so she'll do his work for him. So I'll give him a 6, but needs to improve.
Yes, he's not on his
If
best.
he's starting to look like Jan, maybe they could get a double act at the Fringe. You could have Wee Willie in short trousers.
Scores on the doors. Joanne and Alex are getting closer, I have to tell you. Joanne 15, Alex 19. I think we all accept he's still in a different league, but
But he's slipping actually. He's slipping from scores earlier on.
Ruth's done well this week.
Yeah.
She's not a minus. She's not a plus either. She's a 0. Just as well, somebody was it the Arabs invented 0. Otherwise, God knows where she would have been.
You would find the Arabs probably invented most of it.
Willie, a bad one. That's you.
Yep, I know.
Let me in.
Oh no! I mean, sorry, but I mean,
Yes,
I mean, a wet flannel doesn't come into it. You know, really. I mean, what is the point? Really, somebody wants to. What is the point of Willie Rennick?
Well, it's a shame that Patrick Harvey didn't get a question
Yeah.
this week, or Margot,
I think-
or Jean Urquhart, to one of the indies.
But that's what raised the level last week.
Well, there's a point. What's his name voted against in committee? The guy. What's the guy's name that left the SNP?
Oh yeah, I know.
He voted against. It was a vote of confidence in Swinney's budget being
Yeah, voted against the budget. Yeah.
Pro-
The committee.
pro-work. It was a pat on the back for Swinney. He voted against it, so it fell.
It was a committee one. Committee vote.
Yeah, but it just shows
Oh, yeah.
that they've got a bit.
I can't remember this fellow's name. Jean Urquhart, yes.
I can't remember either.
Must be on the
But
back.
we might have to start remembering it if he starts pulling those kind of
Fair
stuff.
enough. True.
Well, we won't need to because the next election you won't be around.
That's true, isn't it? Well, thank you,
He's
gentlemen.
having his moment of glory at the moment.
Thank you, gentlemen, and see you next week.
Okay.